Monday, May 6th, has issued a high risk of severe weather, and it is confirmed that it is causing damage. Again, it's this little area right here. If you are in this area north of Parkin, Now, hello everybody, my name is Christian and welcome back to Skycast, and we have been sitting through a little bit of a quieter period with more mesoscale severe weather days, but we are about ready to pick up big time across the Ohio Valley and into the Central Plains, all with strong tornadoes, significant damaging winds, and significant hail possible. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Now for today, we have three areas to be watching for, all low-end severe weather days. One's going to be up here towards the Dakotas, one's going to be down here towards Mississippi and Alabama, and then the other one is going to be for the Atlantic coast, including eastern Kentucky into Virginia and North Carolina. Damaging winds and potentially an isolated tornado for the right side, mainly a hail-dominant threat for the left side. Overall, not really anything to be wildly concerned about, but something to keep an eye on and be prepared if you do see a warning. We switch over to day 2, which is tomorrow, and that will also be a severe weather risk. Once again, we have two areas to be watching for. One is going to be a more elevated slight risk of severe weather across the Dakotas and into Nebraska. The other one is going to be a lower severe weather risk from South Carolina up into portions of the Washington, D.C. area. Now, once again, not really too high of a tornado threat. A brief spin-up tornado would be possible, but this is going to be mainly a wind-driven threat. I did think it was 15% for hail, but it looks like it's not. So it does believe that this is going to be a directly wind-driven threat, with that slight risk being for that 15% wind threat, and then all hazards possible down here towards the coast. So stay weather aware tomorrow if you are under that risk area. But as I mentioned in the intro, significant severe weather is possible, and that will begin to increase as we get towards portions of the day 3 outlook on Thursday. All hazards will be possible. Depending on storm mode, the directional of the trough, a few different other factors too, including how much moisture and instability will actually be present. But some models are actually predicting what's this environment supposed to look like, and it is fairly scary to say the least. Now, as we are looking at the 500 millibar winds, or the winds that are up in the atmosphere, we can see that there's this pretty decent trough coming out of the Rockies, out of the west coast, and that is going to be the trough area that is kind of causing that severe weather risk area across the Dakotas, that lower end severe weather potential, which is fairly common to see. You get a few mesoscale days, but as we continue this, it looks like we have kind of a trough collision right here across the board, and that is going to help with diffluence as we get towards the actual severe weather day. We can play this through, and you can see that these trough begins to strengthen, and that is where we are going to be watching for that severe weather threat across the Midwest and into the Ohio Valley. Now, another big question that we have been having with the environment is how much moisture that we will have, and it's pretty safe to say, at least from this model run and previous model runs, there's going to be a huge warm sector, dew points up into the 60s region, all the way up into portions of the Northeast and up into portions of Wisconsin and Minnesota. So lots and lots of moisture, even dew points reaching into the 70s and the mid 70s here across Kentucky, which usually do not get that high. So this will also set a stage for another severe weather event on Friday, which we are going to get into, but tons of moisture available for severe weather storms to take a hold of. If we are also taking a look at instability, once again, that greatest severe weather risk is going to be here from portions of Minnesota down into Indiana and Ohio. And once again, we can see that there is tons of instability here for storms to take a hold of. Even up into southern Wisconsin, you have ranges of 31,000 joules, and it only takes about 1,500 to sustain a severe weather storm. So this is definitely a lot of instability here for potential severe weather. Now, if we are looking at convective inhibition, or the basically a cap in the atmosphere, what a cap is there's a warm layer on the bottom near the surface. Storms aren't really able to get going. They can't explode into supercells or whatever the storm mode is that day. Basically, like a pressure cooker, the lid holds the steam into the pressure cooker, and the moment you take that off, all that steam comes out, things explode. Really good analogy for a cap there. But as we can see, Storms begin to fire around 22Z or about 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can see by 20Z, Zulu time UTC, that cap erodes across portions of northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, and that is where a lot of people are looking for that greatest severe weather threat. Areas near Chicago and Milwaukee, Peoria, Illinois, I believe, is up there, and then areas in southern Wisconsin. You need to be weather aware with this because this has the potential to be a big, significant, severe weather event. We do have a few things that we need to iron out, once again, including the troughing direction, but we should have enough defluence for there to be tornadoes, large hail, and potentially even some damaging winds. Now, once again, I said storms should fire about 22Z. About 21Z, we start seeing that line of storms, and it does look like these are going to become supercellular. If you are seeing this line right here, this is because this is the NAM 3K model. Usually is not the most accurate, but is the best mid-range one that we have in range right now. And this model is usually linear, so it usually forms things in a line. But as we can see, we played this through, some of these storms have the ability to be discrete. They have the ability to have updrafts. And with a linear model, that goes to show kind of a scenario that could happen that we do get these supercells able to form. And once again, these impact the Chicago metro. These impact the Milwaukee metro. That is why I'm saying the need to be severe weather aware, have that plan. Like I said, one of these supercells are forecasted on this model to go right through the Chicago metro area. This does not 100% mean a tornado, but this does mean that there are those supercells there able to rotate. That could mean some big hail, but that could also mean the potential for a tornado. Now, you have probably been wondering, we're back to convective inhibition. We have a ton of instability here across Kentucky and southern Indiana, but the thing is, will storms be able to take a hold of that? Because while that cap erodes across Illinois and Wisconsin, that cap is not supposed to erode across portions of Kentucky, southern Indiana, and that is where we are watching to see if storms will be able to break that cap. That jet streak that is coming out with that defluence, we have those two little troughing areas. That should help break the trough, not the trough, but the cap. And we also do see a few weakenings as we get into the nighttime hours. So storms may have a great probability of breaking the cap across southern Illinois and portions of western Kentucky. The thing is, where they track and how intense they will be, and if they form, is still a question that has yet to be answered. Now for this day, I do also want to show off the CSU. This is the aggregates, and then this is what the Storm Prediction Center has actually forecasted. And you can see that the aggregates on this, or the kind of the combination of severe weather, is already at a 45%, which is high for this model. You can see it only gets up to about 60 or 1.0, but definitely a higher end risk on the CSU, which is fairly uncommon to see. So this day is something that we need to be taking seriously. Now, another thing that I am seeing is the day 4 outlook for portions of Friday, and Friday looks to be even more significant than Thursday could be. We have this 15% risk highlighted across central Kentucky all the way down into portions of eastern Arkansas and Missouri. This does include areas of Memphis, Jonesboro, Jackson, Clarksville, Bowling Green, Frankfort, Richmond, Kentucky. Tons of areas, tons of metropolitan areas that are under this severe weather risk. Now let's run through the models again. Once again, we take a look at moisture. Tons of moisture forecasted across Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri. Dew points into the 70s in some areas. We can kind of play that through again. We can see those dew points begin to increase from between 2, 5, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So lots of moisture forecast today, lots of instability return. We can see this is the new GFS model, and we have tons of instability out here across portions of southern Illinois, Indiana, and portions of Kentucky. That instability is extremely high levels, and like we talked about a minute ago, it only takes about 1,500 joules for a severe weather storm to sustain. This is CAPE levels from between 5,000 to about 3,500 across the risk area. So that is instability that is usually uncommon, especially for areas like this, but tons of it will be available, which is why we are highlighting this day to be a more significant severe weather event. We can also take a look at the GFS Supercell composite, and we do have that available too. Supercell composite almost into the between the 10 to 20 range, which should help sustain some sort of supercell if they're able to form. And last but not least, we take a look at convective inhibition. We should not have a cap available with this event, so that is not going to be that little pressure cooker analogy. We aren't going to have that forecasted across the risk areas. So storms should be able to take hold, and wherever storms fire, wherever the boundary gets left across Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, that is where storms will fire. So it's really just kind of a where, when, and what intensity they will fire that we still don't have answered just yet. And you may be asking about the CSU MLP for this as well. Once again, we do have that 45 percent risk added onto this as well. So another significant severe weather day also possible across the board. So stay weather aware, especially Kentucky, Tennessee, where this is being highlighted directly. Now, I have been rambling for a hot minute now, so I am going to go ahead and leave the video off here. Even after these risk days, another trough is expected to eject out of the Rockies. More severe weather will be possible. It's about to get hyperactive across May, portions of early June. Stay weather aware, stay safe, get with your family, and have that severe weather plan ready. You can follow me on X and Facebook. Link is in the description for more up-to-date information and events as they happen. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.